Alrighty, welcome to our team call today. Thank you for coming. You guys, I fully understand that mom life is in full force right now with it being the last day or last couple days of school. At least, is it the last couple of days right now for all of you? Is this the last week for your kids or are you already done, Amanda? You have 2 more weeks? Oh my gosh. Okay, so some of you guys are like, what are you talking about? I'm glad I'm here then, because you guys still have 2 weeks of sanity. I'm just kidding. I love my kids. That's gonna be great. Girls Get Out June 26th. Wow, that is so late in the year. Oh my gosh. I I feel like every school is different, depending on their district. I know growing up for me, like we never even started until after the first week of September, and now we start like way into August. It's so weird, but all right. So, you guys, honestly, like there's so much scattered in my brain right now that I know I keep coming back to talking about like duplication and things like that, and it's something I really want to drill down because I want you guys to become so comfortable with it. And what is the best way to become comfortable at something? Put it in the comments. I want to hear what you think. What's the quickest way to become comfortable with something? What do you guys think? Do you think that people that create silvers, yeah, doing it over and over, what Amanda said, do you think people that create silvers are they just have the it factor? Like they just got it. They just were born that way and there's something wrong with you. There is something wrong with you because you can't create silvers. I don't believe that. I really truthfully don't. And I don't because I was not good at creating silvers, you guys. And I am one away from creating my second silver this month. And so I want you to know that it is something that you can do. Okay. When it comes to growing a team, you can get to gold. I've seen people get to senior gold, and I've even seen people get to ruby mostly on their own without creating any silvers. Okay. Very, very rare to go past that without duplication. And so I really want to help you guys believe in the process of duplication and that you can do it. And so that's one thing that I really want to hone in on. Like, I almost am like every single call, like, this is the power of our business is in duplication. It's in creating silvers, period. And so if you're not creating silvers, and I know for me, when I wasn't able to create silvers for several, like a year, like I was like, "Oh, nope, I'm not creating any silvers." I formed this belief that I just wasn't any good at it. Like I'm just not natural at it. I'm not I'm not good at it. And I wrote something down the other day. I don't know if I can find where it's at. I was listening to a book and I didn't really write it down word for word of like what he said, but I kind of wrote down the gist of it. Okay. So um he was asking the question like what am I capable of, like what are my limits, and this is what I had written down. Too often answers and assumptions are thrust on us. Let us see what our limits are, what our boundaries should be, and what we are capable of or not, and then we come to believe those limits and those boundaries about us are true. Sorry, this is choppy because I was like, so we believe like we really form these beliefs about ourself off of what other people say, right? Off of their assumptions and what or things that they say to us. And then we believe that they're true, okay? And he said the more we believe them, the truer they become. And I thought, "Oh my gosh, that is so true." The more we believe something, the truer it becomes because I truly believe I don't remember. There was a quote somebody made, and I don't remember it word for word, but something Henry Ford or something like that said, if you believe it is possible, and if you don't believe it's possible, either way, you're right. Because truthfully, we can only become and we can only do the things that we believe in. So if you believe that you like, I just feel like there's a lot of members under Jess, like on her team and, even under me, that just kind of don't believe they have the it factor. to do this. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you believe that, you're probably going to be right and you're probably going to quit. So what we need to do is we need to first believe that it is possible. And I hear a lot of you guys say like, yeah, like I know what it takes. Like, yeah, I know it's possible. Do you believe it's possible for you? Do you believe it's possible for you to rank up this month? Do you believe it's possible for you to create a silver this month? Do you believe it's possible for you to create 3 silvers this month? Right? Like, because really, honestly, like, if I were to ask you right now, do you think you could create a silver in the next week? What is the first thing that comes to your head? I know a lot of you are like, oh, no, I don't have anybody who wants to do that. Right? Like you're already believing it's not possible. Right? And I know this sounds so simple, but you guys, it's real. Okay. Believing something is possible is the first step to making it really happen. And so, where are your beliefs at? Where are your thoughts at around your business and what's possible for you? And I love the silver training that we did. And please, you guys, go and read it and use it. Like, the only way to get good at something is to get really bad at it first. So that's like, I was scratching down notes here as you guys were hopping on the call, um, about why it's not true that you can't do this. Because there was like a solid year where I was like fighting to hold my rank. I was losing business builders. I wasn't duplicating and creating silvers. I wasn't getting a lot of enrollments. I really struggled for like a year to get level 1 enrollments. And the longer that that went on, the more my belief was, maybe I can't do this, right? But I've really learned that if I could make it through that valley and I can now come around to enrolling 3 to 6 people a month and creating a silver or 2 a month and helping people rank up, you know, each month, I truthfully believe that it's just a skill that if I could learn it, you could learn it. Okay. And so there's somebody in the company that you guys don't know, but she has said to me multiple times that she has lost every single rank. So like when you hit a rank, she's gone backwards in points. So they never take your title away. Like once you hit gold, they're not like, you're not a gold anymore. But what she will say is, I lost the points on every single rank up to diamond. She's a diamond now. But she's like, I lost my emerald rank. I lost my sapphire rank. I lost senior ruby rank. Like her points were not straight up. You guys, it's very normal for progress to look like this. Okay. You're going up, but you're having dips along the way. And a lot of times when we have that dip, that little valley, we're like, gosh, I just suck at this. I can't do it. It's not possible. You guys, I promise you, if you stick through it through the valley, and if you are willing to fail, if you are willing to look really bad at it and be really bad at something first, I promise you that you can get good at it. But you're only going to get good at it if you're willing to do the things that the people in the company are doing that are making them succeed. So like when I look at where I'm at a year ago, when I was looking at where I was at and I wasn't duplicating, I was struggling to hold my rank, I was fighting with white lines every month, I wasn't getting enrollments, I wasn't creating duplication. I was like, okay, right now I have kind of formed the belief that I suck at this. But the truth is that there are other women just like me out there doing it. What are they doing? That was what I did. I went, what are they doing? And I became obsessed with sharpening my blade. Okay. Like the saying, if you're going to cut down a massive tree, you're going to spend 90% of the time sharpening your blade and 10% of the time chopping the tree down. Okay. I became laser focused on how can I sharpen my blade, my skills? How can I get better at this? Okay. That is what I have focused on for the last several years is I've got to get better at this. It's just a skill. If Christina Williams can do it, if Jess can do it, if, Brooke Hemingway can do it, I can do it. I haven't learned how to develop the skill yet. So I got really good at sucking and I got a lot of no's. And no's can be tricky because when we get a lot of no's, We start to think, nobody wants to do this. I can't do this. It's not possible for me. And I would go to my husband and I would go to Jess and I would go to other leaders and I would be like, I have had so many no's lately. I'm really discouraged. Like, this is not working. What am I doing wrong? And I was asking all these negative questions like, what am I doing wrong? Why does nobody want to join me? What's wrong with me? Like, I was asking a negative question. You guys, this is the interesting thing about your brain. When you ask your brain a question, it's going to answer it. Okay. What's your favorite color? What's your favorite animal? Where's your favorite place to travel? How old are you? Do you want to have another baby? Do you see how your brain is like, did it immediately answer every question that I asked? Okay. When you ask yourself questions like, what's wrong with me? Why doesn't anyone want to do this with me? Do I look stupid? Can I really do this? I don't know. When you're asking yourself negative questions, your brain is going to answer it. And when you don't have the belief around that, it's going to answer it probably negatively. So you're going to be like, what's wrong with me? And your brain is going to go down the spiral of all the things that's wrong with you. I've done it before. I could be like, well, I was really behind in school and I was in all the special classes. So obviously I'm just stupid. Right. And like, look at my family. Like my parents really struggle. My mom has mental health issues. So like, maybe I am mentally challenged. I don't know. Maybe maybe I'm just like, you know what I mean? Like your brain will spiral down all the negative things and all the doubts of what you think that you are. So start asking yourself more positive questions, more productive questions, and realize that when it comes to creating silvers and business builders, the skill that you will use on yourself to handle your own personal objections about yourself and what you're not good at, like those questions you're asking yourself, you've got to get really good at talking yourself through your own objections. And when you learn to talk yourself through your own objections, you'll get really good at talking other people through those objections. Because the reason why people are scared to do this business are because they're worried about what's wrong with them too. Okay. They're worried that they're not good enough. They're worried that no one will listen to them. They're worried that they will fail. They're worried that they're not a salesman. Like, you got to get good at handling objections. And if we're asking silly questions, we're never going to get good at handling those. Okay. And so, really, when it comes to developing silvers, you got to get better at building belief in people. Okay. Because the very first part of success is believing it's possible and that it can be done. And it's also helping other people believe that it's possible for them. So decide that you will do it and decide that you no longer agree with other people's objections. So how many times I've actually seen a lot of you guys do this and I've done it myself. So believe me, this is a no judgment zone. But in the beginning, when I would start and people would say something like, oh, it's really expensive. What would you do? I know it's expensive. You're agreeing with them. You're like validating their excuse. You're like, I know it's really expensive. Or they're like, I'm busy. You're like, I know, motherhood is so busy. I get it, girl. You're validating their excuse, right? And so you got to get good at handling their objection in a different way, because really all you're doing is you're giving them a reason to doubt their doubts. You're giving them a reason or an alternative to the way they're seeing things. Because really, this is all a mind, you guys, this is all a mind game. Like, if you believe you can, you can. So you got to help people start believing in themselves. That's your role as a leader, is to help them believe in themselves. So when someone says, I'm really busy, you need to say, instead of agreeing with them, say, because you are so busy, I know that you're really good at getting things done and multitasking, and I'm confident I can help you do one more thing. Do you see how you're not agreeing with them? You're like, you gotta work with their brain, because our brain is literally programmed in survival. Our brain is programmed to look at what's going wrong and to stay safe. That is what your brain does. And so it's really easy to get stuck in the I want to stay safe zone and I need to survive zone. And when you're pushing the limits of doing something new, like trying to go for a big goal, you got to get good at handling those objections with yourself and with other people. And so I know you guys can get better at creating silvers because I've done it. And I know it's a process, and I'm willing to ask everybody because I know that some of them will say yes eventually. Okay, so are you willing to get 10 no's to get one yes? Because that's probably how it's going to look with a silver. You're going to go to someone and you're going to be like, girl, who are you going to start this with? Like, you're going to get way better results if you start with someone. And she's going to be like, no, I'm not going to start with anyone until I get results. And like, your job is to get good at those objections. Okay. I have verbiage typed up in Limitless Leaders on objections, and I'm going to keep putting more stuff in there. The last few weeks I've been a little slow, but I'm going to keep putting stuff in there. And I want you guys to get good at practicing it. Like, go write it down, print it out, and practice it on everyone. And know that when it comes to developing a silver, you are going to have to ask more than once, most likely. Okay. Amanda, you're a rare case. Amanda, yeah, you know who I'm talking about. Not, do you go by Beryl or Goodman? I feel like your husband's, I don't know, I'm confused. I'm like Beryl or Goodman. Either way, you like, she was ready to go silver. Like, she was like, I want to do this. But she is a rare case. Like, most of the time people tell me no. They're like, no, they give me objections first. And if I never challenge those objections in a loving way, if I don't learn how to work through those objections and I never come back around to them, I'm going to lose a lot of people, right? Because most people are going to say no up front, and just get really good at knowing that's totally normal and it's totally okay, because those people are also going to watch you. And I've had people that have told me, no, 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 no. Felicia was one of them. I asked her for like 2 years to share it. It was like, no, 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 or ignore, ignore, ignore. You guys, people are watching you and the way that you show up and how you handle it, how you handle your business, right? Truthfully, they don't know where your points are. They don't know whether your points are low right now or high. They just know the way that you show up. They know the way you talk to them. They feel the confidence. They see the joy you get from it. They see your consistency on social media. They feel your energy when they bump into you at the grocery store and they see shifts in you. Like that, it's an energetic transfer. And that's the main thing they see. And so we've got to get out of our head of like, well, my points are low. I just suck right now. Nobody wants to do this. It's like, that is what's keeping you staying stuck. And so if you can start thinking differently, okay, I don't care where your points are. Maybe your points have been down for a year. Maybe you're like, I haven't re-ranked in a year. I don't care. That does not disqualify you. It doesn't mean that you're not capable of this. And stop looking for proof, you guys. Stop looking for proof of why you can't do this and start looking for proof of why you can. Okay? Because that's the only thing that kept me going, was looking for proof of why I could do this when my points were low. Okay? So I have heard a lot of people feel discouraged about some members on our team that are getting mass enrollments right now. Okay. You guys, I don't even have to say the names, but there's people that are getting 12, 15, 20 enrollments a month or more, right? And it's really easy to look at them and to compare and to be like, I suck because I can't do this. Well, let me tell you something. I have never been a master recruiter. Never. If I get 3 a month, I am like, praise the Lord, I did it. Like I got 3 a month. I'm doing good. Okay. I have never been a master recruiter, you guys. I think the most I've ever enrolled in a month, it was 8. And I have no idea how that happened. And it was like right around the time that I ranked Emerald. And I swear it was God lending me a hand. Like it was literally God being like, girl, you have put the work in here, because that has never happened. Like in all of my business, I get 3, maybe 4, sometimes on a good month, 5 or 6, but it's very, very rare. I usually get 2 to 3 a month. Yes, my love. Oh, I think everybody did. I'm so sorry. Go play with it, okay? It's still fun. Sorry. He just got kinetic sand and they mixed all the colors and now he's sad. There's nothing I can do about it. You can't sort out the sand. I know. Yeah. Okay, I'm on a call. I'll help you in a minute. Um, anyways, so I've never been a master recruiter. Can you guys go out, please? No, I'm on a call. I need you to go out for a minute and shut the door right now. Right now. Oh my gosh, you guys. Sorry. I'm literally on a team call right now. I know. Go play. Okay. They want me to sort out every grain of sand, you guys. It's not going to happen. Okay. So, um, I just want you to know, like, if you're like, I'm not like these girls that enroll all of them. Like, I'm not an influencer. I'm not a master recruiter. I don't care. It is still possible for you. Okay. If you listen to Brooke Hemingway, she's the same way. She's like, I've never been a master recruiter. She's like, I'm just really good at duplicating. And she got good at duplicating by being willing to fail and to practice. And so if you are feeling stuck in your business, if you're feeling like my enrollments are down, my points are down, I'm not moving forward, you guys get good at what you can, okay? Like if you're just enrolling 2 to 3 people a month, that's okay. Focus on doing that and then focusing on developing a silver. 2 to 3 a month, a silver. 2 to 3 a month, a silver. And if you keep doing that, that is where you're going to find your business builders because you're going to have a lot of people go silver that never do the business. I've created way more silvers than I have actual business builders. And that's a huge reason why I've been able to grow my points. But it's those people that go silver that kind of catch that vision and they go, maybe I do want to do this. Like, this is pretty good money. This is fun. That wasn't too hard. And so I want you guys to believe in yourself. I want you to believe that you can create a skill. Duplication is a skill. That is all it is. You can get really, really good at it. Start practicing it on everyone and start circling back around and asking people in a little bit different way and start inviting them to events. Another thing that I think held me back that year when I had really low engagement was energetically my belief in myself and my confidence in myself was low. And so energetically, that's like kind of what I was putting out there and people could feel it from me. So like even when I was like talking to people, at the gym or other places, like they could feel that. And so I was talking to Jess, I was like, why, I wonder why some people, are low. And I was thinking back to when my personal enrollments were really low, like some months I wasn't getting any. And I'm like, what was different? And I'm like, it's 100%. It was my personal relationships and interactions with people, like how I was showing up. I wasn't going out of my way to talk to people. I wasn't going out of my way to like do little service things and like serve at the school. Like I was like, I don't have time to serve. I don't have time to, go and help in the kindergarten. I'm so busy. And that's really like I was projecting that I was busy. How am I going to attract somebody else that thinks they're busy to do it with me? They're going to be like, oh yeah, busy people can't do this. No, busy people are the best multitaskers. So it's interesting because I started just showing up more at the school and meeting some of the moms at the school. And I've had enrollments from that. I've had enrollments from moms on field trips just because I'm, building a connection with them and adding them on social media or you guys, health comes up like a lot when you're talking to moms. Like, how many of you talk to moms and they're like, oh, I'm just so tired all the time. Like, oh, and now I'm on thyroid pills. Like, like it will just randomly come up like all the time. And so put yourself in more situations to have those interactions with people and to form connections because truthfully, this business is all about connections. It's all about networking, which is connecting and community and bringing people together. And I know that you guys are capable of this, but the first step of being capable is believing it's possible for you, not for somebody else. I know it's easy to look at someone like I have people tell me all the time, like, I know you'll be a diamond. I'm like, oh, that's so interesting that you know I'll be a diamond. Why don't you know that you'll be one? Right? Like, it's easy to look at someone else and be like, I know you can do it. And then you're like, can I do it? I'm not really sure. I want you to have like rock solid belief in yourself. I want you to be like, heck yes, I'll be a diamond. And I am going to show up and I'm going to develop my skills and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get there, even if it takes me 5 years, even if it takes me 6 years, because I know it is just a process of fail, learn, like get up, keep going, and you'll become so much better at it. So believe in yourself first and foremost. I have a little guy pounding on the door. I think, Carly, did you have stuff you wanted to share today? Okay, I'm going to let Carly take it away while I help my little guy.
Okay. Nicole, loved that. Thank you so much. Sorry, my phone, like my Zoom on my computer wasn't working for some reason. So I'm hoping this will work on my phone, but everyone can hear me, correct? I'm sorry. I'm like so scatterbrained trying to get this to work. Okay. Okay. Well, I'm excited. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the comparison that Nicole was talking about. So one thing that I think is important is just like Nicole said, that a lot of times we can have that belief in others, but not belief in ourselves. And we look at others and we think we want to be where they are, but sometimes it lends to us then having this negative idea about where we are, and almost like we just don't believe in ourselves, right? When we compare ourselves to somebody else, sometimes that leads us to be below them. We can't do that for whatever reason. And we all have heard the quote, comparison is the thief of joy. That comes from Theodore Roosevelt. And I think the reason that is the case is because typically when you are comparing, yourself is involved, right? There's something about somebody that's positive and it instantly puts you in this place of negativity for yourself. I don't know why we do that for ourselves, but I feel like we always do. And that's a problem with comparison. And I was thinking about this too, in the sense of not just in our Plexus business, but in the social media world. So in social media, we scroll through things, we look at pictures, we look at videos, and there's instantly some kind of judgment, whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether you're happy for someone or jealous or envious. There's a human instant judgment. Like Nicole was saying, even when you're asked a question, your mind says something in it. So when you look at something or when you hear about somebody else, your mind just has this instant reaction. And I want you to just think to yourself, are you usually happy about something? Or do you usually compare yourself in a negative way? Do you find yourself being more jealous or envious? Or do you find yourself actually saying good for them, or however that is? Because that's coming from our own internal state. That has to do with us. That doesn't have to do with anybody else. We are in charge of that emotion and that thought process. And while it's hard sometimes, because we're all humans and we might sit here in this mode of, I wish I was on this vacation. I wish I was that skinny. I wish I had skin like that. I wish blah, 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 blah. Like my hair has always been my thing. Like, oh, I wish I had hair like those people, But I think what's important is when we look at how we compare ourselves to somebody else, I don't want people to then put themselves down in a negative way. I don't have this. I don't have that. That's what usually happens when we compare ourselves and when we give that instant judgment. And it's important to recognize about ourselves. But what's also important is to recognize that we don't have all the facts. Okay. You can't compare apples and oranges. You can't even sometimes compare apples and apples, because literally think about that phrase. If you're comparing apples and apples, like on the same tree, okay, some apples might have fallen off the tree and then they're more bruised, or some apples may be sweeter, or some apples may, have a different color on the outside. Like no matter what it is, we just don't have all the facts and nothing is going to be comparable exactly the same. So when it's yourself and you're looking at yourself in this business compared to somebody else, compared to somebody's rank, compared to someone's level ones, compared to someone's, lack of white lines, that they're doing great with retention, we just don't have all the facts. We don't know how much they're working. We don't know, how they talk to people. We don't know their background of what they bring to the table. I was talking to Jessica about this too, and she was saying, you got to think about what they had before they entered the Plexus business, right? Like I was a teacher before I entered the Plexus business. So maybe I have something more to offer where I can talk to people in a different way, like in public. but other people maybe have a better mindset of the business aspect of things and how you build this and different aspects of that. So when you come into your Plexus business, we're all coming from different spots. So we all grow at different spots. We all get different level ones at different spots, you know, and also when we're looking at our social media presence, some people are just better at social media than others. Okay. Some people have the quote unquote it factor. I never felt like I had that. I'm growing that in myself. And that's something where somebody can jump in this business. My very best friend in the world is on Plexus. I keep telling her, you have the it factor. You jump into this, you'll go so far because you're already starting at a certain point where you just have it. You know what I'm talking about? I can't explain it. It's just the it factor. You know, so when we are quote unquote comparing ourselves to others, make sure that your internal nature is a positive sense about yourself, a realization that we just don't have all the facts. So in essence, guess what? We shouldn't compare ourselves to others. We shouldn't compare ourselves because there's going to be no comparisons that go straight across the board exactly the same. And it tends to bring us in a negative place about ourselves. And it can hinder what we do because we instantly put ourselves in this, I can't do that. Your belief of this person has this, I can't do that like that. So what I think is super important, and I was thinking about this for the last month because I've been hearing this a lot on my team. Like this whole year, actually, I don't know what it is about this year, but there's something about it where I feel like for my team specifically, and I'm not pointing out any one team member, but a team as a whole, I feel like there is a lot of comparison and there is a lot of, you know, when we look at the message thread, if we don't feel like we're where somebody else is, or if we look at somebody's new rank, we're not where they are, or didn't get there as fast, or whatever that may be, and we're not good enough. But what I really want to focus on is the difference between comparison and admiration. Okay. So when we compare ourselves, like I said, you're more in a negative space. And I want to read this. So if you compare yourself to others, you may fuel or exaggerate your perception of your imperfections. Instead of recognizing that nobody's perfect, comparisons can make you hyper-focused on what you might feel are your shortcomings. And I loved that, okay? When we compare, we're magnifying our imperfections and what we believe are our weaknesses and what we lack. I am huge into that, and I'm trying to work on it, right? I am not a super social, personable person. So when I've looked at people's growths and I've looked at how fast they've gone or how much they connect with others, my tendency is to look at my imperfections and say, you know what? I consider myself a social person, but I like my small group, right? Like I like my small friend group. I like my small social group. And so for that reason, I can't grow. Like I just can't be one of those diamonds who's like social and fun and inviting everybody. Like that's just not me, right? But that's wrong. If that's my belief, then you're right. I'm not going to be that person. But if I can sit and recognize that when I compare myself, all I'm doing is magnifying my imperfections. And why do I want to do that? I don't. Okay. Instead, what I want to do is I want to look at somebody, and I'll use Christy for an example, because I did look at her and I'm like, oh, she's so much more fun. She's so much more social. Oh, she's so much better at this. Like I could never do that. But instead of looking at that, I just need to look at her with some admiration and say, that girl is awesome. She is incredible. She's sweet. She's kind. She's good natured. She's good hearted. And I give that respect to another person and that regard for them. And by doing that, I can think more in a positive way as I want to be like that. It's not focusing on my shortcomings and my imperfections. Instead, it's looking at somebody saying, I want to try to be in those same kinds of places. Okay. And to me, the key difference is between comparison and admiration is when you compare it, you're including yourself and creating those negative feelings. When you're admiring someone, you're focusing on them and you're not putting yourself down, but you are really trying to figure out, how am I going to be in those similar situations, right? How am I going to be that more social fun person? How am I going to be that diamond leader? How are they doing it? I want to know how they're doing it. And then that will help me in my progression of learning what are some things that I need to do like that instead. Yeah, go ahead. So I really liked that thought and just kind of changing my own mind thought and my own mindset to those things that give me that more positive view. Because in this community of women, honestly, like I've had experience with this community of women for almost 4 years, and we're not judging each other and we're not trying to put each other down or any of those kinds of things. We want to build each other up and we want to support each other and we want to be able to shout out our own victories and we want to be able to shout out other people's victories without feeling like, oh, I'm throwing this in your face, like I'm growing so much and I'm so awesome. Okay. And you might be sitting here thinking, oh, I don't think those things. Maybe I'm just reflecting on myself, but I think it's human nature to kind of have that thought process and that comparison. And it really will take away the joy and also hinder us from growing and getting those results. So I really want, as I just end these last couple of thoughts, to have you guys think about that for the end of this month and maybe throughout the summer, is how can I have more of an admiration for somebody that allows me to focus on how I can get there, how I can be like that, as opposed to comparison where it's putting me in a place of magnifying my imperfections and putting this belief on myself that things are negative and I can't do this and I'm not good enough. So I'm going to have that challenge for myself. And I want you all to have that challenge for yourself, because truly, if you ask, like Nicole said, and anybody in this business, everyone has setbacks, all of us, I bet on this call, no one's usually sometimes like with silvers, or senior silvers, you can hit a rank and stay there, but most of the time you don't. And most of the time we all have setbacks and we're all doing different things. We all have different lives. We all have different amounts of kids or no kids, or we're married or we're not married, or we have a job or we don't have a job. Okay. So there are so many different aspects in life, and that we have to just really focus on ourselves and what's going to help us grow and how we proceed forward and what we see in other people that we want to admire and learn how to become like that in the positive way that's going to get us to our goals and help us be better and less judgmental of others. So that was my 2 cents on that kind of thought. So I'm done.
I love that, Carly. And I love how we didn't talk about this before, but what we had on our heart went hand in hand. It really is. It's so important to look to others and be inspired by what's possible, right? Like I'm listening to a book right now. And I don't know if you guys know who Colin O'Brady is, but he was the first, he's broken a lot of world records for, like one of them was like the 7 tallest summits. Like he did that in like a record time. He like Everest and like there's 7 peaks, and he did all 7 like consecutively, like in the shortest amount of time. And so he broke that record. And then the book that I'm reading is all about kind of like how he did that, but then also how as he's doing it, he's explaining how he's crossing, like Antarctica or something, I think it is. Like he's like literally like no one's ever done a solo mission across the Arctic like on their own, and he has a sled. Have you guys ever pulled a sled at the gym? Like it gets real tiring real fast. Okay. Well, he's pulling a sled with everything that he will keep him alive. And he knew it was gonna take him like over 60 days to do this. And so can you imagine pulling a sled that started out over 300 pounds in the snow and ice for like 65 days by yourself, no one else there, blizzards, like there's all these like drop off death zones, like it's super dangerous, and no one had ever done it. And he was like, I want to be the first man to do it on my own. And it's so inspiring because he decides he's going to do it, and he has to earn all this money because it's very expensive to be like dropped off out there and to do it. And then he realizes that this other guy that has far more experience, because he's already done it with a group of people, like he's polar adventures with groups. And so he's like, well, he's far more experienced than I am. And in this story, he gets in his head because this guy decides to do it at the same time, literally ends up getting in the same plane, because there's only like one plane that will drop you off down there at the same time. And so now this whole thing becomes a race. It becomes a race between 2 men who can do the solo mission without dying by themselves before the other person. And he gets in his head. So they get dropped off, and he looks over to this other guy, and he's like, okay, this guy's like he's been in the military, like he has all this like military experience, like all this polar experience, and he gets in his head about what he is not. And then this guy just takes off and starts going, and he goes to take his first step, and he's like, oh, like he can not even get the sled to move. He's like calling his wife on this phone that works out there. I don't know what it is, but and he's like, babe, I can't even get the sled to move. And he's comparing himself to this other guy and he starts to cry. And out there it's like below zero. He says that his tears are literally freezing on his face as they run down. And he's at this extremely low point. And he gets like a quarter of a mile the first day, you guys. And he only has enough rations for food to do it in a certain amount of time. And so he sets up his camp and he's talking to his wife and he's crying. He's like, I can't do this. This is impossible. I can't even hardly get my sled to budge. Like maybe it's too heavy, all this stuff. And he says that that night he realized that there were 5 other people in his tent with him. And it was all of the versions of himself that he didn't believe in, like all of the doubt and the comparison and all the negativity. Those were the 5 other versions of him in the tent that night. And he realized that he needed to let go of that. And so he ends up going forward the next couple days. And I can't remember what day it was, but it was like maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks in, he ends up passing this guy. Okay. And he just thinks, I'm not going to stop. And when he stops, I'm going to go another mile. And so when this other guy stops, he goes another mile. And then the next day, he goes another mile. And so every time he thinks like, I'm done, he goes another mile. And he told his wife in the beginning, he's like, it's impossible for me to go 12 miles or 12 hours pulling in a day. He's like, I'm so exhausted. It's impossible. And then he does 12 hours, 12 hours, 12 hours. And he just keeps going. And he ends up realizing that he has created this gap between this other guy by 35 miles. Like he's created a 35-mile gap ahead of him. And he's weathered all of these challenges. And like when I'm listening to him explain, like he poops his pants, you guys. Like he has all these challenges along the way, and he only has diaper wipes to like clean it up. Like there's no way for him to take a bath. He's like chafing and all this stuff. And like you hear the struggles, and it's like, what possesses a man, a human being, to push themselves to find out what is possible? What are their limits? What possesses somebody to do that? Like you can be the man in the tent that goes, I got all these things stacked against me. I got all these versions of myself that don't believe in myself. And you can choose to quit, or you can choose to compare to somebody else that looks bigger, stronger, more capable, has more experience, and you can choose to quit. Or you can say, no, I know what I bring to the table. I know my heart. I know my experiences. I know my purpose. I know why I'm doing this. And you can go for it. And he ends up passing him, you guys, and he ends up being the first person to ever do this solo mission. I'm not even done with the book yet, but I know he does it. I know he breaks the record for it. It's pretty incredible to see what he has overcome. And when you look back on his past, his story started out by he was severely burned. He was doing this jump rope that was on fire and he tripped and it wrapped around his legs and it severely burnt his legs. And doctors said that he would probably never walk again. And that was his first goal was to do a triathlon. And then he won the triathlon and then he went and did like Everest and then he did this. And so he really started at ground zero with the belief, like he could have believed his doctor when his doctor said, you'll probably never walk again. Can you imagine? And now he's doing this. So oftentimes, like what we think is possible is because we have these beliefs thrust upon us of what we think other people say we can do or what's possible. And he mentioned this in the book, and I'm just going to read it real quick, and then I'm going to let Jess take over because I'm hoping she has something to add. But I've heard this before, I've shared this before, but I just want this to be a reminder to you guys. It's called The Man in the Arena, and it's written by Theodore Roosevelt. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how strong men stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of the highest achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, and at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who never know victory nor defeat. And I love that because truthfully, we look at the people that with all of the success and you just think they have the it factor and they have something that you don't have. Just like he looked at this other guy that was more qualified than him, and you almost want to give up because you think you don't have it. But guess what? It is not without defeat that those people accomplish greatness. They work hard for it and they persevere through failings and hardships and setbacks. And that is why they succeed. That is what makes them great. And I guarantee you, if you look at any person that has broken a record or accomplished something big or done something like extraordinary, there were many, many failures along the way. Don't let your failures and your setbacks stop you from being great. You guys have what's special inside of you, and it doesn't matter whether it's the same as somebody else. And so the book is called, oh my gosh, I'll look it up and I'll put it in the chat. I'll have to look at the title before I tell you wrong, but it started out a little bit boring. I'll be honest. The first chapter, I was like, is this going to be boring? But you guys, as you see the journey, it's such a beautiful journey. And oftentimes the road to success is a little boring. Let's be honest. Like it looks so shiny from the outside, but the truth is that all of the work that goes into the shiny thing is the boring, mundane things that people don't want to do every single day. And when you do those every single day, they add up to be extraordinary. So, okay, Jess, I hope you have something to add because we got a little bit of time left.
No, I love everything that has been said, you guys, because Carly and I actually talked about this before this call today, and I find myself easily comparing myself to others, not even in the Plexus business, but like in daily life, seeing moms maybe do things that I don't do, or seeing the way that moms treat their kids in a different like patient level than I do. Cause if you know me, I'm not a patient person. So I have to remind myself to be patient. And so when I see a patient mom, I'm like, why can't I just be like that and just be patient all the time? You know, I don't see that mom behind closed doors, but I loved everything you shared, Carly, because it like resonates with me. And I like was thinking about, I'm like, what do I do? What do I do when I find myself comparing either on social media or maybe in the Plexus world? Because this is a Plexus call, right? What do I do to distract that or to divert it or to pivot it? And the worst thing that I could do for myself is keep scrolling or keep my focus on who's growing and comparing myself to their growth, being like, well, what are they doing? And just continue to like kind of indulge in a team chat or like, I have to pivot. I have to get off social media. I have to get off the team chat for a minute to kind of refocus my why of why I'm doing this. I'm not doing this for so-and-so to compare myself to. I'm doing this for me. And there are people waiting for me to show up. And so that's something that I want to talk to, and it actually ties in with what I really want to, for the next 5 minutes, really emphasize on, you guys. I used to be in this like mode where I would work kind of consistently throughout the month, like post a couple times a week. I would kind of like comment on posts or create new content or do follow-ups or reach out to new people or prospects. And then the last 3 of the days of the month, I was like, oh my gosh, it's the end of the month. I got to crunch numbers. I got to push. I got to reach out to everybody that I've ever reached out to order. And that's why if you notice in your back office, what happens? All of these subs end up on the 28th because we go into crunch mode. This is not just me. This is like a Plexus worldwide thing where we all kind of just work consistently and don't show up completely. But then the last 3 days kind of go into a panic mode, and then we overwhelm ourselves and then we burn ourselves out. And then on the first of the month of the next month, what do we find ourselves doing? Going back into, I'm so burned out. I just pushed for 3 days. I'm exhausted. I don't want to do this. This isn't fun anymore. Right? Anyone else feel that way? Because I have felt that way several times. And so I really want you guys as leaders in the next week, you guys, we still have a full, I think it's 6 days. Are we down to 6 days, 6 or 7? We still have a full 6 days to intentionally work. And instead of pushing for 3 days and burning yourself out, I want you to work consistently and showing up what looks healthy for you in a sense of what I put into my business is what I'm going to get out. And I can literally testify, this is not a testimony meeting, but I will say this, working my way to Emerald with an Emerald team, I have to put in more than 10 minutes a day. I have to put in more than just a post a day, even if that's Plexus related or not. I have to sit down at my computer and follow up and reach out to everyone that's ever ordered from me directly, or if their level one's not working, if my level one's not working and I'm working through them directly, I never want to just sell product and never talk to that person again. That follow-up is just as important to me as a prospect in my harvest tunnel. And if you're not treating your follow-up people like they are new prospects, shift the way you think about that, because that person, you guys, that follow-up could change your business tomorrow. What if that person that thinks you forgot about them after you got the sell and they were like, oh, I'm going to turn off my sub, or I'm going to cancel my products, or I'm going to not talk to her back. Like, I'm going to ghost her because she obviously doesn't care about me. We are a team of caring, you guys. I want you to reach out to your people that you have been helping that maybe have ordered a year ago, several months ago, that they're off that weekly check-in, either through your project broadcast or your calendar. I want you to reach out to those people because that person could honestly be on the verge of sharing. And it's that one check-in, that one 10-minute conversation that you have with them that they say, oh my gosh, I want to start sharing. I love these products. I have 3 family members that want to join. How can I do it? And they're just too scared to ask, or they don't know what to do. So please start treating your follow-ups, your white lines, like new prospects. And I've said this in the past too. If you have someone that hasn't ordered within like the last 6 months, there's no activity on their account, I would highly recommend closing down their account and having them re-enroll as a new enrollment. Now that's going to help your cruise credits. That's going to help your points. That's going to help everything. And they're going to get a better deal too, because they're getting the welcome pack price plus free shipping plus perks, right? From the very beginning of 250 perks, which is really dang cool. So I just wanted to share those few thoughts. I, since like probably Emerald rank and after my mother-in-law passed, I work intentionally every single day, just like it's the last 3 days of the month. That way I don't feel the burnout. Now, granted, there's going to be days where people are close to rank or trying to re-rank or hold rank, but yeah, those days might be a little bit busier, or they offer free shipping, which they did last month, stuff like that. And there's some fun things coming in June. But if we start focusing from the very beginning on June 1st with a clean and healthy mind, we're going to be able to work so much more consistently and healthy with healthy balance. And you're not going to feel that burnout trying to reach goals at the end of the month. So really just find that intention to intentionally show up consistently every day. So I just wanted to share that. I don't know if that ties in with comparison at all, but I do know that if you are finding yourself comparing yourself to maybe you feel lack of growth or lack of connection with people, and you see other people sidelines, uplines, downlines doing that, and you're not feeling that same way, I want you to get off social media. I want you to get off that team thread, and I want you to go on a 10-minute walk outside. And while you're out there, I want you to ground yourself. If you know what that means, I want you to look it up. You can literally ground yourself with the earth, with the universe. And I just want you to take a deep breath and be like, I'm not doing the business for so-and-so. I'm not doing the business for my sideline who is doing really well right now. In fact, I admire her for doing really well. Right now, I'm going to ground myself. I'm going to dig in, and I'm going to understand why I'm doing what I'm doing and why I keep showing up, even when I find myself comparing. And I don't think comparing is something that we should shame, but it is a thief of joy. It truly is. How often do we look at someone and compare ourselves and feel happy? Because if you ask me, I never feel happy when I compare myself. In fact, I start to shame myself, tell myself that I'm not good enough or better enough, or I could never do what Jessica or Nicole or Carly or Teresa do. I could never do that. But if we find ourselves intentionally trying to reground ourselves and kind of come away from that, and there's nothing wrong with taking a social media break for the day or for the hour. You guys, sometimes I literally just have to put my phone down and I walk away from it. I don't want to see anything on it. I don't want to have the temptation to look at it. I'm going to be intentional with doing something different. And I promise a 10-minute walk will always fix it.
Can I add to that too, Jess?
Yeah, of course.
That was super interesting too. And I was thinking, well, you can compare yourself with yourself in that sense. And like you were saying, how, you work intentionally every day and you do this and you think about, okay, when have I had those really big boosts in momentum per month? What was I doing? Compare your work ethic and your activity level and the different things you were doing in your Plexus business that month with what you're doing this month. And, compare yourself to yourself and, admire yourself for the things you were doing when you were, pushing for that rank, or when you talked to that person and you really cared about them, or when, you helped a level 1 grow to silver or gold or whatever it is. And then move that forward and have another great month where you're doing those similar things. So you're not only comparing yourself to someone else, you want to positively look at your things that you've done in your business, admire that, and figure out how to keep that momentum or get better to move yourself forward, and recognize what I've done that's been successful and how to, keep that success alive.
No, and I love that, Carly. And thank you for sharing that. And if you guys weren't on the team call on Monday, I shared about Matthew McConaughey. If you haven't searched YouTube, go do it. But Matthew McConaughey shares on a speech when he won an Oscar. He gets up there and he was asked one day who his hero was. And instead of saying someone maybe he compares himself with, maybe another actor, maybe someone that makes abundantly better money than he does, or has a different lifestyle than him that he wants, instead of saying that person, he was like, it's me in 10 years. And like, it took the guy kind of like off guard. Like, why would you be your own hero? And I take that to heart. Like, who is your hero? Who do you compare yourself to? And your answer should be yourself in 10 years, in 5 years, maybe in a week. If you feel like 10 years is too long to like look at yourself in 10 years, be like, what do I want to be in a week from now? What can I create and accomplish in a week from now? And then he began to say, and then the guy asked me, well, what happens when you hit that 10-year mark and you've reached that 10-year mark? Who's going to be your hero then? And he's like, it's going to be myself in 10 years from that 10 years. So I really think that's cool. Like, you should always be comparing your growth, your strengths, your intentions to yourself. And if there are days that I am just so crazy that maybe I am not as intentional with maybe Plexus or my house or my kids, I compare myself to what happened yesterday. And guess what, you guys, there's always tomorrow. There's always tomorrow. Like, we can forgive ourselves. And I have to tell myself that a lot. I actually reach out to Amanda a lot when I have mom guilt. I'm like, tell me I'm okay. Like, I'm having this mom guilt. And she's like, you know what? Kids are so forgiving, and you should be forgiving to yourself too. Like, you don't have to be perfect to do this business. Plexus is never asking you to be perfect, but we are. And Plexus is asking you to be consistent so that you are showing up in a capacity that people see that and are attracted to it. So that's all from me. I know it's 2:00. I love you guys so much. I hope you have a great Thursday, and let's really just be intentional the next 6 days. I want you to work your business like you are going for a rank by tomorrow, and just show up intentionally every day until then. So that's all I wanted to share. Love you, ladies.